Bonjour! Welcome to another episode of Cuisine de Michel. I am Michelle. So happy Valentine's Day. I thought that I would try a recipe for this cake that I've always wanted to try to make. I never have before. This is out of a cookbook that I have, which I've had for a very long time. I've mentioned this cookbook before, and it has all these wonderful French recipes in it. I don't know if you can still find it anymore, but if you can, I highly recommend it. I've made so many of the recipes in this book. This one is a Reine de Saba cake, which is a Queen of Sheba cake. So let's get started and see how this turns out. So here I've got a springform pan. It says an 8 to 9 inch. Mine's like 8.5, so it's basically right in between. You want to have buttered, it says lightly butter the inside of it. And then it didn't say to, but you're gonna line it with this, and I buttered it. It does say to line it, but the buttering part, I thought I'd better because then it tells you to lightly flour it after that. If we floured the parchment without any butter on it, it wouldn't really do anything. So I just went ahead and did that because I've done that in many other recipes. So anyway, prep your pan, heat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And then in your food processor, you will want to have 2/3 of a cup of, now it says whole blanched almonds. I could not find any whole blanched almonds, so I just got the slivered kind. I think they'll work just fine. They're still blanched almonds. It does say to lightly toast them, so that's already been done. Like I said, this is 2/3 of a cup, and to that, we're going to be adding, you're going to need to measure this out a little bit interestingly. We've got 2/3 of a cup of superfine sugar that I've measured out, but out of that, you can see how I removed some of it already. You need to remove 2 tablespoons of what you measured out, and we're going to be adding that into the food processor. So then once we have those in the food processor, we're going to try to get them processed until they are finely ground. So as you can see, I have this already processed here now, and I am ready to do the next step, which is measure out 1/4 cup or 30 grams of all-purpose flour into a bowl. And then we're going to use our sifter to sift the almond sugar mixture over the top of that flour mixture. Well, it's going to be just mixed in with it, so it doesn't really matter as long as you get it sifted into this bowl. Once you finally have that sifted, and I say finally because it does take a hot moment to get that done, you're going to want to stir together. You could use just a regular spoon. I just thought I'd use the same spatula I was using earlier for the stuff. So just stir that together until it's combined. And then we'll set that aside. All right, for the next part, you're going to need a bowl that you can use a mixer in, or you could, I suppose, use a stand mixer for this as well. I'm just going to do it with my hand mixer. So I've got 1 stick, which is a 1/2 cup of unsalted butter in here that's been softened to room temperature, and we're to beat that until it becomes creamy. So you can see that I got this to be nice and light and creamy, fluffy. So now what we're to do, what I did was to measure by weight so that I could do this. It came out to like 110 grams or so. And so this has got 55 grams. It says use 1/2 of the remaining superfine sugar. So I'm going to put 1/2 of the remaining superfine sugar in here. And we're to beat that for 1 to 2 minutes. All right, once you have that sugar beaten into the butter, I'm gonna go and scrape my bowl. Next, we have 5 ounces of melted semi-sweet chocolate. Now, I did not use chocolate chips. I used actual semi-sweet baking bar from Ghirardelli. That's what I suggest, is getting a baking bar like that, or something that's like a nice quality semi-sweet chocolate bar. So, because chips tend to have other stuff in them that isn't just the pure chocolate. So anyway, I'm sure you could use the chips if you didn't happen to have access to anything else. So we have 5 ounces of the melted chocolate going in here. Once you have your chocolate beaten in, then you're going to have 3 egg yolks. You're going to beat those in 1 at a time. Or at least as close as you can get. Mine are kind of breaking up. After you've got the egg yolks beat in, if you want to, this is optional, you can beat in almond liqueur. I'm using amaretto. You'll need 2 tablespoons worth to beat in. Alright, so now the next step is going to be in a separate bowl. You can see I have another bowl here. We have measured out the egg whites, so those egg yolks that you had and you separated, you're going to be using the 3 egg whites here in this bowl, and we are going to beat them until we have soft peak stage. Okay, so once you have reached those soft peaks, so mine are just maybe slightly past that, but that's okay. So you have soft peaks, you have the tips curling. We are now going to take the remaining sugar that we had from earlier, sprinkle it atop, and we're going to continue beating them until they turn stiff and glossy, but you don't want them to go dry. So now you can see we have this nice and stiff and shiny. So what we're going to do now is, with our chocolate mixture, we're going to be folding in just about 1/4 of this mixture, it says. I'll try to grab about 1/4 of it there. So you want to fold that in. You're going to be gentle. You don't want to destroy the air bubbles that you have there. Just turn through your mixture really nicely. Get that folded in. And once you've got that, it doesn't have to be perfectly folded in, but once you've got that mostly folded in, then you're going to start adding in a little bit of this. You're going to fold, it says to go in about 3 stages, so I'm going to try to do about 1/3 of this. So I will fold in this 1/3 of the almond mixture, and then I'll fold in another 1/4 of the whites, and keep alternating back and forth until I have everything folded in. Now that I've got this all put together, all folded in, we're going to put it into our prepared pan here. And I'm going to spread it out into the pan. And it does say to tap it gently to remove all the air bubbles, or a few air bubbles, so I can take them all out. Okay, I don't think that really did too much for it because of the density of this, the consistency of this dough, or batter I should say. Anyway, we're going to transfer this to the oven and bake for 30 to 35 minutes, but unlike when you bake most traditional cakes, you don't want to insert to test if it's done, you don't want to insert it at the center. The center is actually not going to be totally set, it says. We're going to be inserting about 2 inches in, and it should come out clean if we insert our toothpick 2 inches in. So once you have removed the cake from the oven, this literally just came out of the oven, and I did do a test on it about 2 inches in or so, maybe it's an inch or 2, whatever. And you want that to sit on it. So you see I've got this on a rack. We want to let that cool on the rack in the pan for 15 minutes. Okay, once your 15 minutes of cooling time is up, you're going to want to undo the spring on the side to release the sides of the pan. We're going to want to do that really carefully. We do have some crumbles coming off there, but that's okay. Anyway, we're going to let this now cool all the rest of the way completely before we proceed to the next step. Okay, so my cake has finished cooling, and I inverted it and took off the bottom part, so I've removed that parchment paper. So this is what the bottom, which is now the top, looks like. And I've placed it on well, it's like a cookie sheet with a baking rack inside, because we're going to be topping this with a chocolate glaze. And that's what we're going to make right now. So here in my pan, I have measured out 3/4 cup of heavy cream. We want to bring this heavy cream to a boil. Meanwhile, you need to have 8 ounces. It's that same chocolate that I was using in the thing, so I wanted to put it on here for you. The Ghirardelli semi-sweet chocolate. I'm not sponsored, I'm just showing which one I used. So anyway, this is 8 ounces of it chopped up, so you want that to be ready for once your cream hits boil. Okay, so this is now, because the thing cycles, so now you can see the bubbles are there. We are at boiling stage. We're going to be removing this from the heat. And right after doing so, we're going to be putting all this chocolate into that cream. Once we've got it in there, then we're going to stir it so that it can combine. I'm going to melt that together. And it says, once we have the chocolate and the cream combined, we are to, it says beat in. I'm just going to stir this in. I don't know why you would need to beat the butter in. It's 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter. And this is some softened. I think it would be best probably to use softened so it doesn't change that temperature too much, too rapidly. Beat as I'm going to get is like this. Right. Once you have everything together like that, once you've beat in your butter, then you're going to let the mixture cool for 20 minutes. Okay, so now I actually ended up letting this sit for another 10 minutes. It does say 20 to 30 because we want something that's going to set, and at 20 minutes it definitely wasn't cool enough. It could depend on your pan, like this has got a pretty heavy bottom to it, so probably it retained some of that heat in there. Anyway, we are going to now pour this on to our cake. Go with that for now, see how we are. And it says we want to spread this out And of course, we're going to let that drip over the edges. Coating pretty nicely over the edges. Once you get some coating going over those edges, you can use your straight edge spatula, whatever it is you're using, to get that to coat all the way around. I'm going to try to make mine look as nice as I can on the top. Try to get it kind of smooth there. It is starting to already set just a little, not too much. I think as it's thinner, it definitely will set a lot more. All right, so it looks like all around, we've got that coated all the way around. It's looking really nice there. Then the last step, now this is of course optional as well if you want, and I'm going to do it because it is in the picture for the original. You can toast some more of your blanched almonds, and then it does say to let this set for about 5 minutes before trying this, but you can take the toasted blanched almonds, which you've ground up of course, and coat the sides with that. You can just gently press these into the sides. So I am going to be doing that, and then we will see you at final plating. Okay, so here we are at final plating, and I want to tell you that this is not the easiest thing to make happen here. Getting this stuff on here is it's very tricky to not get some of it up on the top of the cake when you're trying to put it on with your hands. So there are a few spots. I tried to take some off, but then it started to make other spots. So I thought, you know what, just leave those couple that are there. It's fine. And then I did take some of the, there was just a little bit of leftover ganache in the pan. And once it has set up just a little bit, you can draw on top if you want to. So for Valentine's, of course, I drew a heart. But anyway, it looks absolutely delicious. I am so very ready to try this. So we're going to cut into this and find out how it is. It's almost so pretty I don't want to cut into it because it's awesome looking. Let's see what kind of texture we have here. To be as gentle as I can, and I'm still going to make a mess. Ooh, look at that. Look how beautifully dense that is inside. Oh my goodness. That looks wonderful. Oh my, that's great. All right, so now let's take a taste test to see how this is. That is so good. Oh my gosh. If you love almonds, you will love it. Almonds and chocolate, you will love this. This is outstanding and definitely special occasion worthy. It does take a bit of work to put it together, but it's totally worth it because it's awesome. So anyway, thank you for joining me for another episode of Cuisine Michel. Please be sure to like and share, subscribe, and leave me a comment, especially on this one. I hope that you might be interested in making it at some point. Even if you're not, let me know your thoughts about it, and I hope to see you next time. Au revoir!